Uh,
From when on may we buy loaf in the eighth year? Rabbi Yeshua says immediately, but the Chachamim say once the new abounds. There are implements which a craftsman may not sell in the seventh year: a plow and all its equipment, a yoke and a winnower, and a mattock. But one may sell a hand sickle, a scythe, and a cart of all its equipment. This is the principle. Anything that serves exclusively for transgression is forbidden, for the prohibited, and for the permitted is allowed. And the potter may sell 5 oil jars and 15 wine jars, and this is the usual amount one collects from ownerless property. If he bought more than this, it is permitted, and he may sell to a non-Jew in Eretz Israel or to a Jew outside of Eretz Israel.
okay. All right. Now we're going to be talking about the cow. What is the use of a cow? Is a cow considered a dual use item? Beis Shammai omrim lo imkolo para choreshes b'shvius. You're also not allowed to sell somebody a working cow during Shemitah. Okay, this is basically any cow that's not being used for milk. Our cows are either being used for milk or they're being used for plowing, according to Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel matirin mipnei shehu yachol l'shachta. Says no, it's dual use. You could be buying the cow to shecht it. But we're talking specifically here about a working cow. There's a big, strong animal that's used for that's experienced in pulling loads. So 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 basically, I'll say it's not a problem, even though it's unlikely that he would want to shecht such a nice, strong animal. It's still considered dual use, and you don't have to worry yourself about it. Mocher lo peros afilu b'shas zera. You're allowed to you're allowed to sell him the grain even at planting time because you don't have to suspect that the guy is going to go and plant the grain. You can just put it off as he's buying it for his own food. Umashi lo sa'ason, and you're allowed to lend your se'ah measure. Right, even though the measure that's usually what a person uses in his threshing floor, right? Afal pisho yodea sheyesh lo goyin, even though he knows that the buyer has his own threshing floor. Or poret lo maos, and he's allowed to give him change. Afal pi shehu yodea sheyesh lo poalim, even though he knows that the guy's got agricultural workers. So now, are you helping him to pay his workers to do devar avera? As long as you can attribute it to something that is something legitimate that he could be doing, then you're allowed to then you're allowed to do it for him. V'chulan b'feirosh asurin. But the moment he opens his mouth and says, "Hey, I've got a bunch of guys who are working in my field. I need to pay them. Can you help me get some change?" So, sorry,
Aye.
shouldn't have opened your mouth. Now that I know that you're doing this for a Devar Avera, I can't help you.
Aye.
Okay. Mash eles isha lechaverta chashuda ala shevi'is. So, a chaver, a woman, has a neighbor comes to her and says, "Please, can I borrow a sieve, a sifter, a hand mill, or an oven?" Okay, this is all this is all fine, because these are all things that you can do beheter. Okay, aval lo tavor velo titchanima, but she cannot now actually come and help her to grind once she knows that this is going to be used, that this is grain that's actually from an avera. So if it's dual purpose, if you're using these things for things that are not Shevi'is, that could be fine. So you can lend it to her and not worry about what she's doing with it. But when he says, come and help me grind this grain, or that was harvested like in industrial quantities from a field that you're not allowed to do. Okay, you're not allowed to go and help with davar vera. Eishes chaver mash'elis eishes am haaretz nafa ukvara. Okay, so now this is no longer talking. It's a bit of a context switch over here. We're talking about a woman, Ashes Chaver, talk with an Ashes Amaretz, um, and we're not no longer talking about Shvius. We're talking now about Tuma and Tara, and this is according to the view that you're not allowed to actively get produce tamei in Eretz Israel. Okay, so an Eishes Chaver may lend to an Eishes Hamaretz Nafa Akvara the sieve and the sifter or boreres v'tochenes u'magira kedesima, and you may sort and grind and and sift with her. Okay, aval misha tatila mayim. As soon as she puts water in to make water into the flour to make a dough, lo tiga etzla. She's not allowed to participate now. She'ein machzikin yedei over avera, because now she is presumed to be tamei because amei aretz are not particular in Tumah and Tara, and therefore what she's doing is she's taking something that was Tara before and making it tamei. Again, this is according to the opinion that one is not allowed to make tahor foods tamei. La halacha, I mean, we have no choice nowadays because everyone's stuck in our tumas mace, and therefore anything that's susceptible to tuma that we touch becomes tame. V'cholan lo amru ela mipnei darchei shalom. And everything that we're talking about here is only so because of darchei shalom, that you're allowed to do all these things for the Amaret, because really they preferred that if they could have said it in they would have said like just stay away from Amei Aretz because they're just full of tumah and trouble for you. But on the other hand, Darkei Shalom, they're still Jews, and we still want to have good relationships with them, and therefore all these things that we said are permitted because of Darkei Shalom. And once we're talking about Darkei Shalom, machzikin yedei goyim b'shvius. You're allowed to encourage non-Jews who are farming during Shvi'is and say, "Have a nice harvest, enjoy. I wish you well with your crop." Okay, aval lo yedei Israel. You cannot say such a thing to a Jew who's violating Shemitah. V'shalin v'shloman. And you're also allowed to have nice conversations, friendly conversations with non-Jews, mipnei darkei shalom, even though ideally we'd like you to keep your distance because they're not a good influence. But nonetheless, it's a good idea to keep shalom, and therefore you should have conversations with him. Okay. Perek Vav, we now are going to divide the land into areas in which Shemitah applies to greater or lesser degrees. Okay. So, and funnily enough, we only deal with the northern border over here of Eretz
Okay.
Yisrael. We don't have anything about the southern borders of Eretz Yisrael, um, which actually leads to some interesting problems when we do have Shemitah, because I don't see anything in here. They're all every time Shemitah comes around nowadays, they always have these discussions about the Negev and
Right.
Ole Bavel and the Ole Mitzrayim, and which are the areas that are subject to Shemitah. So the Mishnah tells us about the north. Shalosh aratzos l'shvius. Kol she'ech ziku ole Babel. Anything that the returnees from Babylon took possession of. May Eretz Yisrael, from the parts that are obviously Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, Lod, all those old places. Ad Kaziv, to the place Achaziv, which is up in the north of Israel. Okay. Lo nechal v'lo nevad. It is that is 100% Shemitah rules. You're not allowed to work the land. You're not allowed to harvest from the land. B'chol she'echziku ole Mitzrayim. And then the people, Yeshua's generation, who took a lot more land than the Ole Babel, their kedusha was a temporary kedusha, but we still have restrictions for Shemitah. Mikziv ad har adamana. So from Kaziv and going north up to a certain river. Now, the Mishnah doesn't tell us what that river is, and therefore that also leaves us with a lot of doubt as to which river the Mishnah is actually referring to. But ad amana, and again, we're not. Kahati brings her Rav Yisraeli, um, writes in his book Eretz Chemda that this is talking about the Nahar Kasmia, which
Right.
is I think in the south of Lebanon.
Hmm.
Okay. Nechal velo nevad. You're allowed to eat the fruits there. In other words, whatever grew in Shvius, the svichin. So we have a restriction on svichin, uh, things that grew by themselves during the Shemitah year, you're not allowed to eat in Eretz Yisrael in the main part, but in this area, this gray area here, if something grew by itself, we didn't assur it, and it therefore may be eaten. But lo nevad, you're not allowed to work the land still. Mina nar me'amana v'lifnim. Another strange choice of words. Why did it use the word the lifnim inwards when really it should be going outwards? Because this is going, I guess maybe it's talking about inland towards away from Eretz Yisrael, depending on your perspective. And nechal v'nevad. So from there on, there are no rules of Shemitah, and you can farm the land as much as you choose.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Azora.
yeah, Gimel Daled.
Okay. Gimel Dalet. If one uses his fields where cattle fold, he must erect an enclosure that covers two sa'as. If he pulls out three sides and leaves the middle one, which leaves him with a cattle fold of four betzahs, Rabbi Shimon ben Meir says of eight betzahs. If his entire field was of four betzahs, he leaves part of it for appearance sake. And if he takes that out from the cattle fold and puts it in his field in the manner of those who bring out their manure. A man may not open a quarry in his field for the first time unless there are in it three layers, which are 3 by 3 and 3 high, and a total of 26 stones, 27 stones. If a wall has 10 stones, each a load for 2 men, these may be removed. The measurement of a wall is 10 tefachim. Less than this, he cuts it and level it to within not less than 1 tefachim from the ground. When is this the case? From his own, but from his neighbors he may remove whatever he wishes. And when is this case? If he did not begin in the 6th year, but if he began in the seventh, and if he did not begin in the 6th year, but if he began in the 6th year, he may remove whatever he wishes. Okay. All right.
We've got Kilayim.
Okay. Um, If one buries turnips or horseradish under a vine, if some of the leaves are covered, he may not be concerned about kalayim, or about the sabbatical year, or about maestros, and they may be extracted on Shabbos. If one sows wheat and barley together, this is kalayim. And Rabbi Yehuda says it is not kalayim unless there are 2 wheat grains and 1 barley grain, or 1 wheat grain and 2 barley grains, or a wheat grain and a barley grain and a spelt grain. If a saw contains a quarter of another kind, he must reduce it. If Yabrosi says he must eliminate whether it is of one kind or of two kinds. Reb Shimon says they said it only of one kind, but the comments say any kalayim within the saw combines to make up a quarter. And we have when does it apply? Grain with grain and pulse with pulse, grain with pulse and pulse with grain. Rightly, they said garden seeds which are not used for food combine to make up 1/24th of that which falls into a bed saw. Reb Shimon says, just as they declare to be stringent, so they declare to be lenient. Flax combines with grain to make up 1/24th of that which falls into a beit saw. Okay.
Okay.
I am. On to Zavam. Zavam. Hey, Vav. One who touches a Zav, a Zava, Anita, or a woman who has given birth, a Mitzara, or a Midrash contaminated couch or seat, contaminates two and invalidates one. Once he separates, he contaminates one and invalidates one. This ruling applies equally to one who touches, one who moves, one who carries, and one who is carried. One who touches the Zav fluid of a Zav, or a saliva, or a semen, or his urine, or one who touches the menstrual blood of a Nila contaminates two and invalidates one. Once he separates, he contaminates one and invalidates one. This ruling applies equally to one who touches and to one who moves. Rabbi Eliezer says, providing that he carries it. One who carries a contaminated saddle of a zav, or one who's carried upon it, or one who moves it contaminates two and invalidates one. Once he separates, he contaminates one and invalidates one. And one who carries an animal carcass or purification water of an amount sufficient for sprinkling contaminates two and invalidates one. And once he separates, he contaminates one and invalidates one.
Okay. Kalim. Kafeches.
How? If one's hands were tahor and the criteria of a cup was tameh, if he held it by its sahaba place, it need not be concerned that perhaps his hands were rendered tameh by the exterior of the cup. If one was drinking from a cup whose exterior was tameh, but he need not be concerned that perhaps the liquid in his mouth was rendered tameh for the exterior of the cup, and then rendered tameh by the interior of the cup. Regarding a kettle that is boiling water, one need not be concerned that perhaps liquid left it, touch its exterior, and then return to the inside. Utensils of kodesh should not have an exterior or an interior, but they do have tiva'ah, plain, and we do not merge utensils within other utensils for kodesh. All utensils descend to tumor through thought, but they do not merge from their tumor except through a physical change. For an action negates an action or a thought, but a thought negates neither an action or a thought. Renting an Minkian saddle or a drawstring purse. Rabbi Yehuda says also a palm string basket. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says also a ludkin sandal and has the same law. These are rendered tamei and rendered tahor without a craftsman. Rabbi Yossi says, but not all utensils rendered tamei and rendered tahor without a craftsman. Rather, these utensils, even if they are undone, are tamei, for a layman is able to repair them. He only stated the other law with regard to a palm strip basket, for even a craftsman is not able to repair it. Okay. On to Shevi'is. Okay, Gimel Zion. I swear that I will not eat this loaf. I swear that I will not eat it. I swear that I will not eat it. I ate it. He is liable only once. This is the oath of utterance for which one is liable for its willful transgression to a penalty of lashes, and for its inadvertent transgression to a variable sin offering. For a vain loaf, one is liable for its willful transgressions, a penalty of lashes, and an inadvertent transgression, one is exempt. What is a vain oath? One who swears to contradict what he knows to man. For example, he said concerning a pillar of stone that it is of gold, concerning a man that he is a woman, or concerning a woman that she is a man. One who swears concerning something that is impossible. For example, if I did not see a camel flying through the air, or I did not see a snake like the beam of an olive tree. One who says to witnesses, come and testify for me, and they reply, we swear that we will not testify for you. One who swears one swears to annul a mitzvah. For example, not to make a sukkah, not to make a lulav, and not to put on tefillin. These are the vain oaths for which one is liable in the penalty of lashes for the willful transgression, and for those inadvertent transgression, one exempt. I will swear that I will eat this loaf. I swear that I will not eat it. The first is an oath of utterance, and the second is a vain oath. If he eats it, he transgresses only the prohibition against a vain oath. But if he does not eat it, he transgresses a vote of utterance as well. Okay.
Okay. I think it's quite funny that we're learning Shevi'is and Shavuos at the same time as Kilayim and Kalim.
Right. I get them all wrong. So
It's the challenge, yeah. Just keep the books in the right order. Okay, Rosh Hashanah. Well
Gimel
done.
Dalet. On fast days, there are ram's horns curved and with silver-plated mouthpieces and with two trumpets in the middle. The shofar blows short and the trumpets blow long, and the commandment of the day is with the trumpets. The Jubilee year is similar to Rosh Hashanah regarding the blowing of the shofar and the benedictions. Rabbi Yehuda says on Rosh Hashanah, we blow with ram's horns, and the Jubilee years we wild goat's horns. A shofar that was split and it glued together is invalid. If he glued together broken pieces of a shofar, it's invalid. If there is a hole on the shofar and he sealed it, if it hinders the blowing, it's invalid, and if not, it is valid. Okay.
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 Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Right,
And
Kodesh
good.
Tov. Enjoy. Okay, be well. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Let me see.